There's a constant battle we have to face as private business owners, and it's something that holds people back and plays some really nasty psychological games with people, whether it's as an owner or as someone who's leading the company. The battle begins at the top there. It's the cost of capital. It's what separates the private business owners from the public companies who have a great ease to raise a lot of money very easily without even having to prove any kind of profit. In fact, they can be losing money for the entire company's history and they can still raise millions of dollars in the public markets. But in the private business community, it's different because of that cost of capital. That cost of capital that it's much more costly to obtain the financing you need to start or grow your company to the next level given your performance, because your performance is really what drives your ability to even obtain the financing. And even if you do, it's going to cost you money. You can't just raise it just by being a popular guy or giving a great speech like some of those people you may have seen in the past who raised a lot of money and didn't even have any performance to show for it or prove that they were worthy of it. So the best you can do is perform well and get the lowest cost of capital that's available from conventional financing and hopefully avoid some of that alternative financing, which is even more expensive. And then once you obtain it, you've got to overcome it because you've got to demonstrate your ability to pay, your stability over time to pay it, and your intent, which is that personal guarantee on your shoulders. You've got to carry that burden, and that's the burden that plays head games with people and sometimes holds you back as an owner from growing the company to the next level, or maybe growing it beyond that kind of a lifestyle thing, or just hiring people who are loyal to you because you've known them from school, or maybe your family or friends and people you've known for a long time. That next level of, I haven't gone this far, but I think I can be better than ever. It's that cost of capital that messes with your head. So I'm going to show you this process here. It's really 4 key roles. And it's kind of how public companies operate too, but it's very specific to what I call a virtuous cycle of growth. And no matter what the company, what you produce, whether it's a service, a product, or both, however long you've been in business, and whatever role you have, whether you call yourself CEO or owner or anything else, these 4 roles are the roles you have to fill. And the first one is the create. That's where you create the company, you create the offer, you create something that you're going to sell to people, and you create the company. Then you move on to providing, and that's providing the context for the work. That's the space in which you work, the environment, and you provide the tools that people need to get the job done, the resources. Then you move on to relate. And now this is the big step, and this is where the cost of capital kind of gets in the way. Because when you're relating, what you're often doing then is you're relating to your ideal customer, or you're relating to maybe the new possible market expansion. And maybe you're relating to a more sophisticated way to operate. But it's a struggle because you're going to have to grow and you're going to have to do things you've never done before. And that just doesn't really sound very comfortable, especially when you're carrying that burden of that cost of capital and the threat of what you might need to get there next, and knowing that it isn't really that easy to go out and just obtain all the other resources you need to do this. So you can get back to being the guide, which is the next level of iteration of growth. Maybe it's the next iteration of improvement with your creation of the next cycle within your company's growth and your product development or your service development to a more sophisticated client, to expanding markets, and to developing a more sophisticated workforce with people who can specialize and elevate to be that executive team, so you can elevate to be the guide instead of being the chief name gatherer or the president or the most famous person in the company trying to be the face of the company. And here's the really fun part about it. And this is why I'm so excited to share this. It reminded me of 2 conversations. One was with a chief name gatherer who's been doing this for 30 years and still is struggling in that provider role, trying to provide the leads for the company and trying to provide the face of the company, and hasn't been able to elevate to that role of guide, to be the teacher in the business and show other people the way and help them to recognize ways to create and innovate the next iteration of improvement, and also provide the context for a larger, more sophisticated environment in which to work, and then relate to people so that they can act and really act with the sort of executive level thinking. Sorry about that. So but here's the really cool part about it. Not only is this the way to grow and overcome that cost of capital by either qualifying for the best rates that you can, and more importantly, overcoming that cost of capital by creating that virtuous cycle of growth, that profitability, that sustainability, and the sophistication as a company, and the sophistication within your market, and your virtuous cycle of differentiation as well, so you can stay ahead of the competition. Because even if you have something great, people will catch up and copy with you, as they've tried to do what we do. And so this is that virtuous cycle of growth and differentiation for you as a person and for your company. And here's the cool part about it. These 4 roles are a great way to get closer to God as well in terms of your belief. Creating us, creating the world, providing the environment in which we can operate, relating to us with Jesus, and he's serving as our Savior, which brings us back closer to our guide. So there's a fun way to wrap it up with an actual belief that matters to you and that virtuous cycle of growth in your company. If you've done all this on your own, I think that's awesome. Congratulations, it's fantastic work doing it yourself. If you need some help with it, you want to do it with me, I've been doing this for 25 years. Closer to success, overcoming that cost of capital a lot faster, building a virtuous cycle of growth and closer to God at the same time, with some battle buddies and great adventures along the way. Starts here with a conversation. I'd like to learn about your purpose if you want to talk about doing it with me and understand where you are and where you're stuck here and how we can get that virtuous cycle of growth going so you can get closer to overcoming the cost of capital and creating that internal source of financing and that great joy in building a great company that's going to last a long time with people who are going to carry this forward, whatever you choose to do. Even if you want to get closer to God sooner, or just maybe build a company and then go on a hiatus after that and spend your time on a retreat. EvokeGrowth.com. Virtuous cycle of growth. It's possible to overcome that ignominious cost and to live a better life and grow a better business without compromising either one. Talk to you soon.